Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. As somebody who's been involved with logistics for many more years than I care to remember, I started realizing something. We're having a repeat of 2020, and people are going to start starving. Now, let me set up what I mean. So Russia and Ukraine especially, are involved in a war. And this war started in February, March, April, it's now May. That's 4 months where people need to be scrambling to get people on the front lines. People need to be feeding those people on the front lines. And one of Ukraine's biggest exports is wheat. Do you know where Ukraine exports that wheat to? Africa. Ukraine doesn't have extra workers at the moment, and places like Belarus are so antagonistic to them, they might not even let the roaming farmer workers to go into Ukraine from their territory. So even if the war stopped right now and they could somehow plant the fields, that food's not going to be ready for harvesting. Africa has a lot of hungry mouths to feed, and our farming capacity is going down. Like industrially, we produce a heck of a lot more wheat, but so much of that wheat is spoiled. It's quite frankly shocking if you knew how much wheat is simply discarded. Add to that, again, pretend the war stops today and everybody gets to farming tomorrow. All those ships, all those train cars, all those means to get the wheat from Ukraine down into Africa are going to take months to get going. I mean, I see it every day now where they're saying this country only has enough gas for the day. This country only has enough gas for the day. Yeah, but how much food do they have? It would suck for people not to go to work. It sucks worse for them not to be able to go to have something in their bellies. Fuel is another really important subject. I mean, we live in 2022. Most people are going to be using some form of transportation. There are those who are able to drive a bike to work, or even those who can walk to work, and that is a blessing. But given that Russia controls a huge portion of the world's oil, it's just backing up, sitting in their reservoirs. And that's not going to do anybody any good. Europe has figured out a neat little trick where they don't deal directly with Russia or payments. They've created a secondary bank, and it handles everything because Russia will now only accept payments in rubles. And the West will only take delivery based on the euro or the dollar or whatever have you. But that supply is sitting. Gasoline, believe it or not, spoils. After a year or so, it starts losing its combustive properties. So all this stuff sitting around, not going anywhere, is going to have a huge ripple effect on the economy. Until recently, it's been kind of a self-inflicted wound that we haven't been able to move cargo around. I've talked before on this channel about the containers sitting waiting to get into port for extremely long times, but now things are not even leaving their home ports. What's going to happen? A ship, even a plane, takes time to get somewhere. And a plane load of goods, well, you can ask the African countries how much good one plane load of goods does for them. Generally, it's not a lot. And yes, we have tons of things that we can put in a plane, and we got some big planes. So 747s on up, they're big, giant monsters that can carry you a whole whack of stuff. But if you put that into a city of about 1 million, look at the Berlin airlift, where they had to be bringing planes in every 2 minutes just to get the city online and to keep people from starving. And that took intense coordination. We're talking one city, a single city. Without Ukraine's wheat export, we're talking an entire continent where prices are going to skyrocket. It's a crying shame. I mean, I don't like to see anybody suffer, but possibly one of the worst sufferings of all is being hungry. And that's simply because your body doesn't let you forget about it. It's there every day, every moment. And the worst part is, none of this was necessary. There was no reason for a war to break out. There was no reason for farmers to be taken away from their fields. And there's no reason why those people in Africa, who, as we know, have had famines in the past and are going to have others in the future. Let's just hope this is one of those years where the countries around the Sahara Desert are a little more fertile than they have been in past years. Africa is a special continent. It belongs to all of humanity. Yes, the people who live there have territorial rights. I'm not trying to claim anything there. But what I'm saying is, it's such a treasure, and the people there are the most genetically diverse on the planet. We need to take care of them. We need to take care of that land because, I mean, look at it. It's just the most positively breathtaking place when it's allowed to be itself. I think we should adopt a strategy similar to what Israel did, where they planted the desert. But it's going to be difficult because there's only a certain number of sources of fresh water in Africa. Although supposedly, if you do plant the desert, it will start to green itself. And with global warming coming up, maybe that would be a good carbon sink for the planet. Israel was able to turn the desert into fertile land in a matter of 50 years. And African countries are, generally speaking, not the richest. And while the land is fertile, it's fertile for many creatures other than human beings. So holding back wheat means you're condemning these people to a diet that's not as good as bread and water. That's right. A horribly cruel diet over here that would be simply outlawed by the Constitution, the charters, and everything else. If you sentence a prisoner to bread and water, like, you are going to be awarding that person so many damages. But in Africa, that's actually not bad. Aside from the ultra-rich who can go where they want and do what they want, the average person does struggle to find enough food. Now, we have food banks over here, but our own food banks struggle to keep up with our own hungry people. And there's never enough food in the world. There is enough food in the world. Let me rephrase that. There is enough food in the world that if distributed properly, it would take care of everybody. But even canned goods, they wind up sitting around in warehouses so long, people are finding cans that are literally 100 years old. You can't tell what's in them because the label is worn off. The food inside is supposedly mostly pretty good, provided you boil it and all that sort of stuff. So we do produce an excess capacity of food. But it's the whole supply chain that makes it go to the wrong places. If nothing else from today, I want you to remember, this war in Ukraine is going to have devastating effects on the planet as a whole. Because Ukraine is pretty important. They produce oil, they produce wheat, they produce a lot of things that people across the world need. And just as spring is coming to us, so it is to Ukraine, except bombs aren't being dropped on us. I really don't know how the farmers in Ukraine do it, and I hope they manage to squeak something out of the soil this year for themselves, because they can't possibly keep going if they don't have an income. So that's the transformation the world might see. A cascading famine. I pray I'm wrong. I hope this doesn't come true. But unfortunately, That's what it looks like. We wish to thank you for joining us on the Silverlight Show. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to buy one of the books listed in the comments below, and we hope you have a fantastic day.